Tough loss for the Broncos today, folks, but the biggest winners in Denver might actually be the Denver Nuggets, who didn't even play basketball today. We'll talk about why here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, being an everydayer, and making us your first listen on this upcoming week for the Nuggets. It's going to be a good week. The Nuggets are back home. They didn't play earlier today. There was a cancellation that we'll talk about, but unfortunately, the Broncos did. That was a tough loss to watch for Broncos country, but fear not, folks. We will get you. We will bring up the vibe and do some good positive things. And we think that there's a lot of good positive things to talk about from the Broncos perspective. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football. Last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. My name is Ryan Blackburn, host here at Locked On Nuggets, also over at Mile High Sports and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. He is Matt Moore at HP Basketball of the Denver Dig, of the Action Network, of Hardwood Paroxysm, and many more places, including Fansided, where you can follow all of his great work and great content that he is putting out. Also at Locked On NBA Daily, which has had a great, some really great shows over the course of this last week. Matt, I've been very happy with the content you guys have put out. It's very enjoyable. On today's episode, we were initially going to be able to talk about the Nuggets versus Memphis Grizzlies game that was supposed to happen tonight or earlier today. It did not happen. There was a cancellation due to inclement weather, obviously a massive snowstorm and winter weather warnings going across the country, some icy conditions that obviously make it very susceptible for the Midwest and the South. Denver playing in Memphis. They did not end up playing. They are stuck there still. They will try to fly out tomorrow night, Matt. Any initial reaction and surprise to Denver having a cancellation here?
Not really. I mean, this is what happens. And I don't blame the league. I don't blame the teams. I don't blame anybody, because what you can't do is you can't have it be, we're going to cancel it, and then it winds up not being that bad, right? Because there's spots. I have friends in various places along the storm path where it's like they were supposed to get hammered, and they're like, it's just rain. It's not a big deal. Or it was like an inch. And then I have some friends who are like, it is snowpocalypse. I am never leaving my home. And like, they do not know how to drive there. They do not know how to treat the roads. They do not have the equipment. It is a disaster. I am not surprised at these problems. So it's just like one of those things that happens. The problem, I think, is actually going to be somebody comment on this, that there's actually not a good spot to schedule this game. And so that's going to be a really tough thing. Like, I will just tell you, no matter what, Denver's going to get screwed with this reschedule, and you're going to you will all be mad. Ryan will be more than mad than most of you. He will be very mad at however they reschedule this game. There is not a good opportunity to do it. I do have an interesting note for later in the show about, I saw a really interesting stat about their schedule after All-Star that I think is really fascinating. It ties into plane travel, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Look, it saves a game for Joker for awards eligibility. So if you're somebody that's still hoping that he's going to be able to steal MVP, then that's helpful. If you're somebody that's just kind of thinking let's take a game where they're shorthanded and not play that one, because they're probably going to be less shorthanded on Tuesday. Maybe not, maybe. That's a win there. It's an extra day of rest. Like, they just don't have to play now, for even if they're just sitting around the Memphis hotel room. Like, they just are not playing basketball and actively traveling. That's a good thing. So, that I think this winds up as a pretty good win for the Nuggets with the timing of it.
Not to mention the Spencer Jones contract situation is still something that is pressing for Denver, and this saves him one game before the trade deadline. The hope is that Denver has this cleared up soon after the trade deadline, but there might be a gap there that the Nuggets are trying to address and figure out. So hopefully they can close that gap, and it's not that bad. And one fewer game to play that.
Can I ask you about the Spencer thing?
Sure.
This is where I start to cross over from, I am pretty reasonable about the tax stuff. It's annoying to me, but I'm reasonable about it. Like, I accept certain financial realities. When we start getting into this, when it's like, well, if we don't pay him, then we could save X amount of dollars if we wait on it, because you're prorating the salary for this season and you're not getting into the blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, let the good player play in the games. Like if you lose a game because you're screwing around and you don't have a defender who rebounds and you get killed on the glass because Spencer's actually a big body, if you get killed because you don't have enough spacing, you don't have enough defensive aptitude, if it's a game where you can look at and reasonably say, like, versus this opponent, Spencer Jones could have made a difference, it's not worth it. I'm not even somebody who overvalues regular season games. I'm constantly like, doesn't matter, right? Especially with the rest, with what they're coming up on. They're coming up on home games and teams versus the Western Conference that have seeding implications.
Clippers.
But like in general, I am a little bit just like, can we not penny pinch about saving a couple, like 10, 20, like you're going to spend more on that on catering. Like, please, can we not do this?
I hope it's not entirely about penny pinching. I do think that ducking the tax is important for the long-term health of the organization and making sure that you can continue to extend this window as much as possible.
But it doesn't get them out of the repeater.
It might in future years, but like that means that they would have to duck the tax in future years.
You found this. I was wrong on this. They got to go back to back years to get out of the repeater.
They can do it so it has to be a sequence of 3 of 4 seasons that they are in the tax for the repeater tax to trigger. So if they go out of it this year, back into it next year, and out of it the year after that, then that year they are not in the repeater tax.
Even then, no,
it's actually it's even kicking the can down the road at that point. So no. I hear you.
Here's my thing is I am not incorrect here that as long as they finish the season under the tax, they're fine, right?
Yeah.
Like as long as as long as they finish the season under the tax, they're fine. So sign Spencer, get him on roster. And the best thing about it is it'll create an impetus for you. And the problem that they're going to be like, well, we don't want to do that because then teams know we have to, like, we lose leverage. We might be able to get a second rounder if we can plausibly deny. But it's like, everybody knows you're going to keep Spencer Jones.
If they don't, then I think us and everybody around the league is seeing what he started like 30 games, Matt. Like there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to get converted at some point. The question is when. The hope is that this isn't something that is holding them hostage. Like they have to find a way to get clear of this and just make the right decision for not just their financial stuff, but like for the competitive.
Let's back up here, Ryan. Let's back up here. I want to go because I want to push back on you here.
Okay.
They do not like. I am not arguing like coming after you for your takes, but like you are trying to be the reasonable one, which I appreciate. You're trying to be like, look, this is the financial reality, and it's really important. Pay the tax. You can be bad for a decade after and penny pinch. And if you win 2 of the next 3 finals, no one in Denver will care.
That's true.
Like, it doesn't matter. I understand how bad it is. I get avoiding the aprons. That I'm like, no. This is an intentional thing that you built in to keep you from spending, which is crap. But when we're just talking tax below apron, that's where I start to be like, no. This is just you being cheap. Don't do that.
You know what? Spitting facts is pretty good. I like the take, and it's funny. We have switched spots in terms of what we would usually do in this. Like as more of the fan, as somebody who's more like go for it. I agree with you, and I've said from the beginning they should have just paid Peyton Watson. They should have just paid everybody and deal with it after.
The best fans in the NBA deserve a team that is willing to spend as long as it's not prohibitive to making the team as good as it can be when you have an all-time great in Nikola Jokic. It should not come down to spending habits in a year where these poor fans could have won the Super Bowl and didn't because their quarterback got hurt. These Denver fans deserve better, and I'm here to advocate for it.
Whew. All right, man, that's some spicy stuff. We got to clip that. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, why don't we talk about the rest of the Western Conference? The fact, hey, Denver didn't play a game, but a lot of Western Conference teams did, and a lot of Western Conference teams lost. We're going to talk about it next here on Locked On Nuggets. All right. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. Super Bowl 60 and FanDuel. I know I'm just digging in the knife right now for a lot of folks. FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the big game. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, I hope a lot of Broncos fans are just riding for the Seahawks right now, building one last same game parlay. This is where the predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. I always love playing squares with my family when we do Super Bowl stuff. We're probably going to do another Super Bowl party. So lots of different ways to get in on the action. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call on football on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner for Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, back at it. Locked On Nuggets, thank you so much for tuning into the show, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. We're putting out great content, not just here, but also on Everydayer Club. The NBA trade deadline, it's basically here, and we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord for just Nuggets fans, plus national chats where you can go hang out with fans from across the league.
Hey, this is a great pitch, but I'm just going to add on to this. I'm doing keys to the game for every single Nuggets game. I didn't do it for the back-to-back because it was versus Milwaukee, because I was like, I don't know who's going to play or who's not. But for every game going forward, you're going to get notes from me on stuff to watch for, about key players to watch for, dynamics, those kind of things. We're adding charts and graphics. On the Discord, we chat during the games. Ryan's doing an article that's going to be a trade deadline primer. So if you want to understand what the Nuggets can't trade, what those options are, I will be texting on our subtext group if you sign up for that with the other Everydayer Club. I'm going to be texting stuff that I hear around the league as far as what the Nuggets are working on. We'll talk about, I'm going to ask you guys what your thoughts are on these trades. You can get all that by signing up for the Everydayer Club at Supercast, at LockedOnNuggets.supercast.com. Finish the read, sir.
And you get the ad-free versions of the show, and you can sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th. You can use code DEADLINE, DEADLINE, to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Okay, let's do a little bit more talk about the Western Conference and some of the results that happened earlier today, Matt, were kind of shocking. I give a lot of benefit of the doubt to Minnesota and the situation that they're in. They have they've now lost 5 in a row. They are thinking about a lot of things outside of basketball, and I don't blame them at all. They lost to Golden State in a blowout today. Toronto beat OKC in a game that went down to the wire. Shea was solid. They're pretty hurt overall. They still have a lot of injuries, just like the Nuggets, but they also do have Shea and Chet, and still lost to Toronto. And so now, Matt, they are no longer a team that can be the greatest NBA regular season team. They have 9 losses, which matches the 73-9 Warriors.
Yeah. No Caruso, no Hartenstein, no AJ Mitchell, no Aaron Wiggins played, no Jalen Williams tonight for the Thunder. So just this is what January is like in the NBA. It's weird because I think January is the most telling month for your performance about how serious of a team you are. It's December and January, but it's also the messiest sometimes because this is the middle of the season. It's a grind, and this is when injuries really start to rack up. It's not as bad as March in terms of just being we're pulling guys off the street, trying to get them into the building. Hey, do you want to play power forward? Cool. But it is, I think, pretty rough. By the way, they're at 10 losses. They are not at 9. You're outdated. They're at 10 losses.
Did I didn't even
they cannot even match the greatest team of all time.
They're so much worse. They're so much worse than I thought they were. It's crazy.
So, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I mean, I will just continue to say this is my position this season has not changed. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the best team in the league. The Oklahoma City Thunder should win the NBA title. The Oklahoma City Thunder are not as good as last year, and the margin last year was tighter than what the regular season stuff showed. So this is a team that's beatable. They're a great team. They're beatable. And if there's one team I think that can beat them, it's going to be the Denver Nuggets. For me, it's about do they get there? Like, can they get there? Can they have the opportunity? Or does somebody knock off OKC first? Whether it's just like a random series of events and they get caught in the second round. Like, I will just tell you, like, it's not, OKC is not inevitable in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't, that it's like the Nuggets are the favorites. They can't be the favorites.
No.
But the Denver Nuggets are going to have a real shot at winning the NBA title. I'm not like, well, you just might as well get ready for next year. OKC's not that good. They're good. They're just not that good.
Couple of other results. The Spurs lost today at home to the New Orleans Pelicans. That's a big loss. That's one that they should not incur, but still managed to do so. Phoenix lost to Miami, which surprisingly important given the run that Phoenix has been on and how well they have done for the first half of the season. And the Clippers, they did win. They won by a lot. So they were blowing out Brooklyn from the first quarter. And
do not be surprised if there is a rematch of last year's playoff series versus the Clippers. They have gotten over whatever it was, and they will say it's Chris Paul, and I think that's unfair. But they are coming for the neck. They are going to get into the play-in tournament at least.
Ain't no way that Chris Paul made them go like 6-20 to start the season.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Just ridiculous. So
ridiculous.
Okay. I want to play a quick game, and we're gonna breeze through this real quick. I want you to give me 10 to 15 seconds on each of the Western Conference and some Eastern Conference contenders, and I want you to tell me why they are fear or food for the Denver Nuggets. Like, are the Nuggets, they going to eat if they have to face them in the playoff series, or is that a series that fans should be fearful of? Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's start at the bottom and go with the Los Angeles Clippers.
God, I think food. I just think if they couldn't beat them last year when the Clippers were so good, and they're so much worse defensively this season, and Denver's so much better this year. Like, Denver has shooting. I think there's a mental edge there. Nuggets don't worry about going into the wall. I just do not believe in Kawhi Leonard in a Game 7 environment, in a clutch environment. I do not believe in him. So I will say that they are food for Denver. I think it's like 5 or 6.
I think they are food as well, although they have improved, and there's no doubt about it. And I don't know what they could do at the trade deadline to continue to improve their team. I doubt it's enough, but who knows? Portland is currently 500. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. I assume this is food.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Joker's healthy, Donovan Klingon's really good, but he's just going to get annihilated in a playoff environment by Joker. He's just going to veteran crafty his way. But look, having Donovan Klingon and Robert Williams is a really good frontline tandem to throw at Yoke. They're good defensively. Avdia is going to be a player that you are going to grow to absolutely loathe if they're in the series. Ryan would come out of that series hating Denny.
I already do. It's crazy.
He's such a grifter. He's a worse grifter than Shea, in my opinion.
Undoubtedly.
They're tough. They're scrappy. Drew Holiday gives them a lot. I don't know what they're going to look like after the deadline. From what I hear, they're not going to do anything. But I just don't think they have enough experience in a playoff environment, so I think they're food.
Golden State.
Let's see what they do at the deadline. I'm not prepared to answer yet. So I will tell you that as much as it's like, oh my God, Jimmy Butler. They were really good with Jimmy Butler, but I always kind of believe in the possibility of things improving. I just think as long as Steph's there, you got an opportunity. Like, they can push. They are a team, I think, that has playoff experience, that is tough, that is smart. And those are teams that are usually pretty tough to play. Quentin Post would be the player. I hate watching that guy, and he would have an absolutely bonkers series versus the Nuggets. They're outmatched, but I'm not willing to say that they're food.
I think they would need Giannis in order to make that happen, but that's one of those that's like hiding underneath the surface that you just never know.
What if they get Markkanen?
For the Butler contract, if they're willing
they get it for, let's say they get it for Kuminga in pieces.
Ooh, I still don't think they have enough, especially from a defensive perspective against the Nuggets in a series. Like, I think the Nuggets would score on them at will. Sure. But could the Warriors take a couple of games off them like the Suns did? Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Few more here. Minnesota, they are down in the 7 spot right now.
Fear.
Still fear for me.
I understand they won the season series. I understand Denver's better. Minnesota's going to upgrade at point guard at the deadline. That's going to be a big difference maker for them. you guys have seen what Ant can do in a series, and we know how well Rudy plays Jokic. It is still like those teams have familiarity, and those teams and they have motivation. Like I think you need to have appropriate fear of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I think the familiarity pulls them closer together rather than pushes them apart. Like
Right.
they know how to attack each other's weaknesses.
Yep.
Phoenix.
I want to say appropriate fear, but I just don't think the matchup is there for Phoenix as much as I like the Suns team. They are a team that's going to do really well in the regular season, but there's too many young guys. They're too unproven. Jalen Green in and out of the lineup. Dylan would be annoying. They probably would win one more game than they should, whether that's pushing it to 5 or 6. But ultimately, it's just like, look, Mark Williams and Nick Richard and the Rook, who's spent more time in the G League, like those guys are just not prepared for the 2-man game with Yoke and Murray. The bigger thing is just like, look, they don't have the guys to slow down Jamal. Jamal's going to kill them in that series. So I just think that the Nuggets have too much Phoenix's food.
Think their food. They have impressed me. There's no doubt that they are better than I expected them to be, but there's still just another level that they need to reach. Lakers.
I understand how you and Swipe felt after that game the other night. I understand. You really do have to kind of consider that JJ is 2-0 in throwing the kitchen sink at you and getting a win.
Yeah.
Luka's going to live at the line.
Yeah.
LeBron's going to get ridiculous calls. Reeves is going to get ridiculous calls. You have to have enough offensive firepower for me to be able to believe you can hang with the Nuggets. They do. And it's like, what are you going to do defensively? They're terrible. Totally agree. But like, if it's just a shootout wild series, you play into variance. And that becomes a little bit scary. When you have Luka to close games, that's really dangerous. The Nuggets haven't been as good in close games this season. I don't know how sustainable that is, but some of the data I've looked at actually says that good clutch performance portends well to the playoffs, and the Lakers have been really good in the clutch. So I will go ahead and I will say you should have appropriate fear of the Lakers.
God, I hate that.
I know it sucks. I don't like, yeah. I understand why everyone's want to be like, no, come on. I get it. We just have a history of like Aiden does not terribly versus Joker relative to other human beings. And they draw a lot of fouls. I don't know. Like, it's just, I can see them being able to keep it into a series.
Yeah, like if that suddenly becomes a 7-game series and you're facing Luka and LeBron in that game, and you're like, okay, well, now there's a lot of pressure on you. Houston.
Houston's food. They can't match up with Denver at all. I think Houston matches up great with San Antonio and OKC, and I think they cannot figure out Denver for the life of them. Şengün, I think, is not super comfortable with where this team is at. Now, the Reed Shepherd stuff is really interesting. If Reed gets the green light, maybe Reed continues his plus-minus streak and just continues torching Denver as a small guard coming off pick and rolls. That's a legitimate worry, but I like the overall formula of Denver's defenders versus Kevin Durant, Jokic versus Şengün, and the wings. I like the bench matchup. I like Denver a lot in that matchup versus Houston.
What did you think of the trade that I threw in the Discord? It was Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Cole Anthony going to Houston for Alperen Şengün, Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, and a couple first-round picks.
I'm not prepared to comment because I have thoughts about it. You can find on the Hardwood Paroxysm Substack based off of things I've heard around the league.
So it was a pretty good proposal. I like it. Okay, 2 more. We'll skip the East because they don't matter.
Right.
San Antonio.
You're gonna. I was like, when's he gonna get to it? I know he's gonna get the dig in.
There's just not enough time. San Antonio.
That's fear. I hate that matchup for Denver. If San Antonio falls to the 4, that's the ideal matchup for, like, that's the lie that Denver needs. If Denver gets the 2 and Spurs fall to 4 and Denver plays Houston in the 3, that's like chef's kiss. Perfect. Make OKC go through San Antonio. I do not like Denver trying to defend in drop pick and roll coverage versus De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Vassell. I do not like the combos versus Victor Wembanyama. I do not like the athleticism and the speed. I do not like the shooting component of Champagny. Like, there's just nothing about the Spurs matchup I like. Denver can reverse this if they kill them in those 2 matchups in March, which will be very interesting. But for right now, I am more concerned about San Antonio than I am about any team in the Western Conference outside of OKC, who I only have to say that because of how good they are generally and not the matchup.
OKC's obviously fear, despite the fact that there are some advantages that Denver can reach. But I do agree with San Antonio. It's a tough matchup from a spacing standpoint for Joker to have to figure out whether he's guarding Wemby or whether somebody bigger is or smaller is guarding Wemby, and then Jokic has to find a guard that he's matched up with. Denver's going to have to get really creative in a series like that. They can, and if the Spurs stay small, then they're obviously going to have a lot of trouble with guarding Denver themselves. So if the Nuggets are making their shots, then they should be able to win. But it is
the chat is mad at me because I haven't said that everyone is food. That's like basically
the chat's wrong.
I built up all that goodwill in the first segment, and you ruined it by making me be like an analyst in the second segment. I hate you.
Well, that is back to normal, folks. When we come back, let's do some trade deadline talk. I've got some takes. Matt's got some takes, so we're going to do some predictions on what the Nuggets do here on Locked On Nuggets. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that's part that hasn't always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Pulling up the Gametime app, picking an upcoming NBA game, and you have tickets locked in within minutes. I love when the price is all up front. You see the all-in price. That's the really important thing when looking at some of these sites. Like you don't know necessarily whether you're going to see some hidden fees. You're not going to find that with Gametime. There are no surprise fees at checkout, all in one price up front. Being able to see the view from your seat is a really big deal. The zone deals have stood out really well in terms of finding some different sections around the arena where, hey, they've got some cheaper zones here. That's pretty cool. You choose the section, Gametime picks the seats, and then you save. Great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA, or Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. All right, final segment, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Matt, the Nuggets are facing an NBA trade deadline where I don't really expect them to do anything crazy. I don't expect them to do anything too controversial. We talked a little bit about it.
Just like last summer.
Just like last summer. Like everybody assumed that they were just going to run it back, and then they suddenly didn't. So want to take Nuggets fans kind of through the situation where they kind of see themselves, and like, are there any major needs that you actually see for this team?
I mean, look, needs a strong one. So I will kind of start there. There's a feeling in the Discord that they need another player. I think Swipa would be willing to say they need another player. I think Swipa feels like they need another player. I don't. I think this team's good enough as constructed, fully healthy to win the NBA title. I do not think they need enough redundancy, because I'm kind of like, if you add another point guard, I'm trying to think, like, if you add Keon Ellis, let's say you get Keon Ellis, you somehow beat the 10 other teams in competition for him. If you add Keon Ellis and you lose Jamal Murray, does Keon Ellis make up enough for that? No. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Jamal's going to play 43 out of 48 minutes when stuff gets serious. Yeah. So you're looking at like what that 5 minute, and it's the playoffs, and those 5 minutes can kill you. But they have enough with ball handlers with Cam Johnson, and theoretically, if he were to get back to last year, Christian Brown and Peyton, obviously, all those kind of things. I don't think they need one. I think it'd be good to get another power forward, a wing power forward who can shoot threes and play and rebound. Like, those are the two areas that I want them to have, is rebounding and 3-point shooting. I worry less about the trap stuff, because I'm just kind of like, look, when you show them that pressure, last year they couldn't break it because they didn't have shooting. There are so many ways for them to break that pressure this year, with just being like, hey, guess what? You're going to put 2 on me, and I'm going to kick to Tim Hardaway Jr., and he's going to knock down a 3. And then you're going to be like, well, can't do that again. So I don't think they need a deal.
let me ask you this real quick, because I don't think they need one either. It would be nice to have another person. It would be nice to have another player, but like once they get healthy, it's going to go basically 12 deep for what they're capable of doing. So I don't feel that there's a massive need. However, I want to ask, how do you feel about a backup center option, or at least a hybrid 4-5 as a different archetype from Jonas Valanciunas in case Jonas isn't the type of center that they need in the non-Jokic minutes, so that Aaron is not doing it?
So I am not a Zeke guy.
No.
I think that he's like, well, here's the thing. It's like, I don't feel like I'm overly harsh on Zeke.
No, I don't think you are.
It's just like, you got to catch the ball. You got to finish. I don't think his perimeter switching defense is as good as, like, I think that the good matchups are really good and the bad matchups are really bad. And there are honestly so few centers in the league that are matchup proof. Like, this is why I have so much respect for Bam Adebayo. Bam is 1-5 switchable. Aaron Gordon is like 2-5 switchable. Okay, there's a difference there. Aaron can't handle the quick guards, but he's better as you get bigger. Aaron gets better versus you defensively. My problem is I'm just kind of like, what you're talking about is Zeke Naji, and I do not think that there's one available on the market that's better. Like, if the Brooklyn Nets were like, hey, we'll take Zeke Naji for Nick Claxton in a first, sure, because next year you'll just let Jonas walk and nickel play. Great, awesome. But that's not going to happen. There are not enough stretch fives that are available. Everybody in the league is shopping for centers and point guards. That's what everybody wants. The weird thing is that nobody wants to spend anything on either one of those things. So it's like everybody wants this thing that they won't spend assets on. So there's like a lot of interest and very few interested parties, and there's not enough guys. So my answer to that question is like, I think if you're looking for that, you really you have it in Zeke. It's good enough. I don't think you're going to find a better one than Zeke.
Yeah, the only couple of names that I could really see are Jalen Smith if they decided they wanted to go a different direction at center.
Look, if you say sticks, I'm in. Yes, 100%. 100. Yes.
Paul Reed, Marvin Bagley, and Trace Jackson Davis are a couple of others.
Trace is not bad. Detroit absolutely knows how good Paul Reed is.
Yeah.
Like, that's one where everybody's like, what about Paul Reed? Ooh. And it's like, guys, Detroit's not stupid. Like, they have a great player. They have a really valuable player on a crap contract. It's awesome. I do not see them trading Paul Reed under any circumstances.
Thanks. I hate it. A couple of point guards just to throw out there, potentially on the buyout market as well. Mike Conley.
I love Mike Conley in this idea. You're only playing him. I get he's washed and can't. I'm with you on this. Mike in the locker room would be great. Mike as a 5-minute option for regular season. Jamal's got to sit. Oh, we're going to play Jalen. We're going to start Jalen Pickett and have Mike come off the bench, and Mike's just going to settle things down. Having Mike is like, oh, the pressure is really high and you just need an outlet valve. Having Mike, I think, is just like an ad. Mike's a good shooter. Mike is a consistent player. Mike's a total pro. Jokic would love him. It's like, I'm not saying you need to give him a big role, but if you're going to add somebody, I think adding Mike Conley is a pretty good approximation.
The other option, and this is the last one I'll give before saving some stuff for the everydayers, Jose Alvarado. That's the one that I think if you can get him.
Great idea. He's going to the Knicks. That is my belief, is that Jose Alvarado will be a Knick on after trade deadline day. That's my belief.
That is a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. So fantastic. Maybe you could go steal Tyler Kolek from the Knicks then. That's not a bad one, I don't think. Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, what's up?
Let's say that they make a move to set up the summer. Okay. And I'm not talking about from a money perspective because but from a roster building perspective, what are the moves that you think that they need to be looking forward to? Because I do think that's where your backup center idea kind of comes in. Because if they have made an agreement with Jonas, hey, we just need you for this year and then you get to go to Greece, it would be a really good idea for them to use this deadline and the picks available that they have available to trade to try and add a center that they can either re-sign or that is on that they can lock in for next year and not have to worry about the backup center spot this summer.
Yeah, the backup center spot to me is it becomes another concern for Denver down the line. I'm not sure whether Deron Holmes is going to be able to handle it. Not sure whether Zeke Naji is going to be able to handle it. Not sure whether, and like obviously you'd like to clear Zeke if you're trying to save money for bringing back Peyton Watson and guys like that. I do think that the 2026 first round pick that they have is in play in a future deal, whether it's at the draft or whatnot. But there's some things there. I do think that having a longer term, like, are you going to bring back Jalen Pickett? He's a free agent. He's got a team option next summer, and you could decide, hey, we are good, or we are going to bring you back. I think that they need to decide on an actual solution there long term, rather than, or maybe not even long term, but just like more stable than figuring out, is it Pickett? Is it Bruce Brown? Is it Curtis Jones? Like Tamar Bates got hurt before he could do anything. Like, I don't think it's Tamar, but who knows? That's one that I would consider as well. So like everybody else, it's backup center and backup point guard.
Okay. Before we get out of here, can I give the stat?
Yeah.
After the All-Star break, so on the season, the Denver Nuggets are going to have traveled the 13th most miles in the NBA. They always travel in the top 15 because of how much they have to travel, because I don't know if you know this, but we're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. As I joked about on Buckets, it's an hour just to get to the airport from anywhere in this area. But after the All-Star break, the Denver Nuggets have the second fewest miles traveled in the NBA. It's Atlanta and then them. I cannot tell you what a big advantage that's going to be for Denver.
Undoubtedly. And they have a pretty hard schedule in February in terms of opponents. But once that kind of mellows out, there's going to be some
rest and density are way more important than opponent. I will keep screaming this.
100%. What I will say is I just did this. There are not a lot of tanking teams that they're going to be facing during that stretch. They're not going to be gifted any wins.
Who cares?
Fair. Yeah. Hey, they might just be like super awesome. All right, everybody. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Nuggets. Really great show. I had a really fun time, Matt. This was a good show. Everybody, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Would really, really appreciate the love and support as always. We'll be back on Tuesday night, probably following the Nuggets game versus the Detroit Pistons.
Be a great game. And we'll see who's back for that game.
We'll see who's back. There might be a special returnee. We'll talk about it next year on Locked On Nuggets.
Technically, I'm